I want to teach you something today that somebody taught me when I was a young man at the age of 24. This is somebody I respect, a serious businessman, a serious family man with a serious business here in Nairobi. He told me, young man, always make sure that you own a black suit and a white shirt. And he told me, always make sure that that set of clothes is always clean in your wardrobe. And then he told me, if ever you wake up in the morning and you're not sure how to dress, or if you're ever invited for a function and you don't know how to dress, just take your black suit, your white shirt, and any tie, and you're gonna look good. And by the way, if as a man you wear a black suit, a white shirt, any tie, and people are not telling you look smart, just know they're jealous. But the reason why I'm wearing a black suit today is not because I didn't know how to dress. No, I was sure I wanted to dress like this. The reason why I'm putting on a black suit today is not because I didn't know how to dress. I was sure I wanted to dress like this because I want to talk to you about a serious brand of a car. And that car is right here. It's called Lexus. Today we talk about the Lexus brand and we find what lessons can we pick from the Lexus brand as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as managers, as guys that want to do well in our individual professions. Follow me as we discuss the Lexus brand. Let's get into this Lexus story and get inspired. Now, if Lexus was a child or if Lexus was a boy, you would say this is the child that grows and does the very things that the parents were not able to achieve. Or if Lexus was a boy, you would say that this is the village boy that comes to the city and competes for a girl among city boys and actually takes the girl home, because the Lexus story is absolutely very inspiring. Now, of course, if you want to understand a brand, one of the things you want to ask yourself is who owns this brand? When was this brand started? And you want to understand what was going on around that company by the time they started the brand. And these are some of the things that I want us to look at today as we look at the Lexus story and be able to pick lessons of inspiration for us as entrepreneurs or even as business leaders. The Lexus story is absolutely very inspiring. Now, of course, many people know and some people don't know that the Lexus brand is owned by the Toyota brand. So Lexus is actually a baby of Toyota, is a child of Toyota. And that is why I started by giving the example of saying that the Lexus is the baby that does what the parent is not able to achieve. And we need to ask ourselves why Toyota needed to actually come up with this brand, even though Toyota itself is a very successful brand in the auto industry. Why is it that they needed to come up with the Lexus brand? And one of the things that you will find is that there were a number of conflicts around the Toyota and the issue of Japan and the US by the time Toyota is actually conceiving to come up with the Lexus brand. Let's look at these three conflicts. In the 1970s, you will find that Japan was outdoing the US in what we call balance of trade. That the US was importing more from Japan than Japan was importing from the US. And this creates what we call a trade deficit. And you know, Americans are not people to watch that kind of a scenario silently. We normally say that Americans are aggressively loud. And we normally say that the Asian communities are usually silently confident. And what you will find is that there was a lot of noise in the American Congress in as far as the trade between the bilateral relations between Japan and the US was concerned. In fact, there were laws that were being proposed to make sure that the Japanese government opens up their market for US products, particularly technology products, because America was very keen in, narrowing the gap of trade between Japan and the US. And bills were being proposed in the Congress that would regulate or that would make sure that Japan opens up its market for the American market. And Japanese companies had a concern that if we are not very careful with our brands, we might very easily lose the American market someday in the future should they come up with bills that stop us from exporting to the US. If you look at the history properly, there is what they used to call voluntary quota system of exports. Yeah, that a company was supposed to regulate how much it is exporting to the other country by itself. And you will find that they wanted the Japanese companies to reduce how much exports they're actually taking to the US. Now, with all these fears and concerns, Japan had to start, the Japanese companies, particularly Toyota, had to start planning ahead. You will find that the American trade deficit, about 30% of the same, a third of it, was being contributed by the automotive sector. That the Americans were importing a lot of vehicles from Japan, and this contributed a lot to that trade deficit that we are talking about. So if ever the American government was going to attack the situation from any angle, reducing how many cars are imported from Japan was going to be a low-hanging fruit. And if this was done, it was going to affect Toyota in a very, very big way. Now, there's one thing you need to understand about big manufacturing companies. If, for example, you lose a certain significant market share, say you lose 10 or 20% of that market share, it has a lot of ripple effect in terms of, are you going to go back home and cut costs in terms of reducing labor? What are you going exactly to go and cut down? So the moment you have acquired a market share, you want to keep having that market share so that you can be able to optimize your economies of scale and you can be able to optimize your performance as a business. So Japan had to start thinking ahead, because one of the ways it had marketed Toyota in the American market was it was a low-cost vehicle. So the economics were involved, economy. There was the issue of durability, and there was the issue of reliability. Okay? Now that is how this brand of Toyota was understood in the American market, and it is how it was understood in very many other markets, and it is one of the things, or one of the ways in which we define Toyota even here in Africa or even here in Kenya. But then there was this big cloud of doubt on what if the American government one day wakes up and gives regulations that reduces how many Toyotas we can actually be able to sell in the American market. What are we going to do in such a scenario? That was conflict number one, the bilateral relations between Japan and the US. There was a second issue, which is what we call the marketing conflict between the mass marketing procedures of marketing and marketing to the niche market. Now, this is a conflict and a challenge that all marketers experience, particularly if your brand has grown to that level of mass market, that you're selling your product to millions of people. Why? Because these millions of people, all of them do not have the same characteristics. All of them are not from the same socio-economic level. All of them are not from the same academic level. You will find they have different academic qualifications. And if you're coming for products that you want to entice into the mass market, you want them to be simple, you want them to be affordable, and you want them to be vehicles that can appeal to a big segment of the market. But there's a problem. The mass market has a big challenge in that you have to bring a product that first and foremost competes on the basis of price. So it is usually a fight down the road of prices. You are trying to outprice your competition. You're trying to price to the lowest level possible for your product to actually be competitive. Now, the other problem is, if you're marketing your product using the price, how cheap it is, now you lose the niche market of the individuals in the society that are interested in something that is more expensive, that is more luxurious, a status asset. The people that are saying, we want to differentiate ourselves from every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And this is one of the things that Toyota could not achieve with the Toyota brand at that particular moment. They would have had to make serious decisions to reposition the brand, okay, so that people can be able to accept that Toyota can sell you an expensive vehicle, which is a route that they also took and which has come a long way also in achieving sales for them. But at that particular moment, they understood that if we are going to penetrate the high end of the market, the American market, the European market, the Germans of this world, we have to come up with a different brand that is going to have a luxury appeal. And that brand is the brand that we call Lexus. There was another conflict And this is what we generally call the Toyota brand stigma, which connects to how does the market perceive a Toyota. Okay? And we talked about the three things. It has to be economical. That talks about budget. It talks about cheap. In fact, if you go and watch the inaugural adverts that Toyota did in the American market, you will find that one of the questions they were asking the market was, why would you buy one car for money that can buy you two Toyotas? And they were attacking the Fords and the Chevs of this world by saying that the price you're paying to buy a Ford can actually be able to buy you two Toyotas. And from day one, therefore, the Toyota brand was associated with cheaper. Okay, and that does not appeal very well to the niche market of the people who are saying, no, I have money to pay for more. I would want something that is more expensive. Okay, and when Toyota tried to position expensive vehicles in the market, there was always that stigma of people saying, but ni Toyo, at the end of the day, it is a Toyota. And this is one of the other reasons why Toyota needed to come up with a completely different brand. That brand is the brand they call Lexus. The interesting thing is that to come up with this brand, Toyota gave the assignment to 60 engineers. 60 engineers sat down to design the Lexus brand. And one of the things I love to say, and one that inspires me, is that Lexus is the only brand that is first designed as a brand. They first envisioned the brand before they came up with a vehicle to call a Lexus. They sat down to say, what is going to be the name of the brand? Where do we want the brand to sell? Who is our target customer? How are we going to position this brand? What qualities do we want this brand to carry? And I love the philosophy of Lexus, which they call the relentless pursuit of excellence. That when it comes to Lexus, perfect is not enough. We have to have the relentless pursuit of excellence and perfection. It can always get better. And one of the things I love about these 60 engineers that had to design Lexus is that a big fraction of them, or a good fraction of them, had to go and live in the US. They were told, because we are creating a vehicle that has to win the American market first. Because truth be told, if you are creating a luxury brand of a motor vehicle, okay, winning the American market is going to give you the moral authority to go and win the other markets. And one of the things that Toyota did is that it actually sponsored a big fraction of these engineers to go and live for a considerable period of time in the US. They were to go and study what cars people drive to the shopping malls, to the cinemas, how the roads look like, how the other vehicles look like, what is the sizes of these other vehicles, before they come back home to say, this is the first Lexus that we are going to put on the road. That was very, very inspiring. And one of the other things you find is that these guys were at one point made to wear long plastic nails and drive a car, in trying to feminize the brand and make sure that this is a brand that is going to be friendly to human beings or to women, because one of the things they say is that they wanted to come up with a high-tech vehicle that has the human being at the center of the brand. And these guys went to the US and lived there for a considerable period of time before coming to design the Lexus brand. The car is designed by 60 engineers. It is conceived in the year 1983. This is the time that Toyota starts talking about Lexus, 1983. But guess what? The first Lexus hits the road 6 years later. And this is why I say that when it comes to Lexus, Toyota first designed the brand and then started making vehicles to match this particular brand. Today, the brand is very, very successful. It sells in almost 100 countries and it sells very, very many cars per year. And guess what? It is recognized as a luxury brand. If you go to China, it is one of the highest selling luxury brands, Lexus. Because when you drive a Lexus, one of the things you find is that you're driving a vehicle that is absolutely stable, absolutely beautiful. It has fantastic technology. Now, in this era of electrification, Lexus is leading the way ahead in terms of coming up with electric and hybrid vehicles. And we can only say one thing: the future of Lexus is absolutely bright. It's yet another car that is not designed to be cheap, But one of the beautiful things that Lexus has done is that it has different sizes for it. You can see, for example, the two models that we are using for this particular video. We have a model that is, like a mid-sized SUV. It would be the same size like the Harrier, okay? And we have an extremely big model like the Land Cruiser V8, which is the RX 570, designed for people that want, something that is big, something that is powerful. And for people who are saying, well, as you guys complain about the price of fuel, that is not one of my problems. I've got money to burn, okay? The people who buy these cars, are not apologetic about the fact that they feel they have more money to burn, okay, than the things they have to do with that particular money. So why not buy a good car like a Lexus? And the beautiful thing is that this is one brand, a luxurious brand, that has vehicles that are perfect fits for ladies and perfect fit for men, and even vehicles that are unisex, that both the man and the woman can be able to drive. They are fantastic family vehicles. They have the space, they have the power, they have the look. They are designed for executives. Many people ask, what does the name Lexus stand for? And it's a big debate. Some people, want to suggest that it wanted to carry the word luxury in it, the word executives in it. The word Lexus, some people say, it means luxury exports to the United States. It was designed primarily with the United States in mind, because that is one market that Toyota was not ready to lose at any particular moment. They didn't want to lose the market share that they had acquired. And we talked about the challenges that brands experience when they grow and they are serving a big number of people, because human beings can be in the middle class today or in the lower level of the pyramid of the economy today. But with time they grow. The guy who is doing his first job today and wants a very simple car, a few years down the line, he's in middle level management. And human beings need to express their growth by the assets that they buy. There are very few ways through which people express their social economic growth. They are climbing of the social economic ladder. It's going to be very simple things, how they dress, where they live. But the car they drive is a big part of them expressing their growth. And therefore you will find that if you're selling to the mass market, if you do not create products that help your customer express their growth with you, then what happens is that those customers will migrate from your brand and go to another brand. And therefore it is very, very necessary for you as a brand manager or as a business leader to ask yourself, these many customers that you started serving when they were at a very low level of the economy, now what are you going to do with them when they grow? And that is why if you go to the banking sector, you will find, for example, a very perfect example, and we have to give them credit, Equity Bank and Cooperative Bank. These may have been banks of people that were poor in the past, but these people have grown rich and wealthy, with time. And the question is, do you want to continue positioning your brand as a bank of the person who is starting in life? Or do you want to accept that some of your customers have grown and therefore you start creating for them prestige banking halls and executive banking halls like you see in both Equity and Cooperative Bank? Fantastic examples here at home of business leaders who understand this same concept that Toyota understood when they created Lexus, the concept of creating new brands, repositioning your brands, and making sure that you keep on rebranding so that as your customer is growing, you actually grow with them and they do not stop identifying with your brand because they feel that you are that same old brand that doesn't want to grow with them and doesn't want to move with them. Because if you don't do that, if you do not adopt to the changes of your customers, then you only become an incubator. The incubator. Pale unaweka mayai, okay? Inakaa hapo 20 days, 21 days, 30 days. But when those eggs become chicks, guess what? The incubator is too small and those eggs cannot continue to live there. They have to go out. You want your business to be able to grab the customers and walk the full journey of life with the customer. That is the inspiring story of the Lexus brand. I hope you've picked a lesson, and let's keep listening to each other. Thank you so much for the feedback that you gave me over the first video we did about the Range Rover. I hope to keep getting time to keep bringing you stories from the auto industry that are very, very educative and very, very inspiring. And I'm the kind of a guy you can always drop a correction. If there's something I've said that you feel is not correct or that I can improve on, drop me that comment. And remember, you must always have a black suit and a white shirt in your wardrobe, particularly if you're a dude. See you next time. Thank you.